Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be starting seeds in my grow room. So here are my seeds. As you can see, they're all kind of separated by little dividers. I went through this whole box and I separated what needed to be sown 6 to 8 weeks before the last frost. So I'll walk you through what I'm going to be doing for seed starting this year. And it's a pretty simple method. So with these containers, these 5.7 liter containers, I am filling it about 1 inch up with potting soil. You can use a seed starting mix, but just to save costs, I have it here, the potting soil. And as you can see, you do have to run through it with your hands and pick out any kind of big chunks or pieces of wood. Put them off to the side. And then, so I use a handy Powerade bottle with the lid, and it does a really good job at nicely sprinkling the water on. And what I'm doing here is I'm pre-wetting it and then mixing it up with a spoon so that it's evenly moist. I know this soil has a tendency to beat off water if you're just pouring water right on the top. So this is a foolproof way of making sure your soil is moist all the way through. As a side note, I did not put drainage holes at the bottom of these just because they are going to be in these containers for a very short period of time. As soon as they sprout, I'll be moving them. So I've started off by just lightly patting down the soil. I'm adding these dividers in the middle just because I want to put 2 separate kinds of seeds in this particular container. And that is just to save room because I only have about 10 of these containers. So you can do it meticulously and place your seeds, which I started with doing. And then I opted for lightly sprinkling them on top. And then you're going to take your dampened soil and lightly crumble it on top of your seeds, making sure it is evenly spread. So you could do it this way, or it might be easier to spread dry soil on top and then wet it after. So since the under layer of soil has already been moistened, you could very easily put the drier potting soil on top just for easier spreading, because as you can see, this is quite clumpy. Don't forget the most important step, label your seeds. So here I have the date which they were planted and also the date at which I'm hoping they should sprout by. The last step is to place, these are produce bags from the grocery store, just over top lightly and water them as needed. So as you can see, a lot of these are newer packs, and then anything in a bag I saved from last year. I decided to save my tomato seeds from last year's harvest. And the way I did that, if you have never saved tomato seeds before, so I scooped out the insides of my tomatoes when I was making sauce. And then with tomato seeds, you don't have to, but it increases the germination rate when you allow them to ferment. So I would scoop out the jelly inside, I would put it in a little cup and cover it, put the date on it and let it sit for 2 to 3 days. And after it's fermented, the seeds actually will lose their protective film that they have on the outside, so that when you dry them, it's just the seed itself. And then, so I put them on a paper towel they dried, put them in a bag. So these are from last year. So obviously the issue with seed saving is cross-pollination. I did my research with tomatoes and it is pretty rare. The way that the flower of the tomato plant is shaped, it doesn't allow for insects, or it's pretty hard for insects to pollinate the flowers of tomato plants. It can happen and it does, but the way that I'm seeding, clearly I'm planting a bunch of plants. It's not that big of an issue if I have one weird variety that pops up that's a cross between a brandywine and a cherry tomato. Another option, so I love this idea because it saves space. And the primary reason why I did this is a lot of these seeds are seed saved. Actually, they're all either seed saved from a fruit or a pepper that someone gave me, or from the store, and I put that there. So I'm kind of like unsure about these and whether they're gonna germinate or not. So I didn't want to really give them too much space. So that's why I did put them in just a damp paper towel, and I put the date at which I hope they should sprout by so that I can check them. And then if, you know, it's 2 weeks past April 2nd and I still don't see any action, then I know that they are just not viable seeds. You could do this method with all of your seeds, and I really, really like this because then you can plant the ones that you know have already germinated, and any ones that are duds, you could just throw them away. Simple as that. And this is what you'll be left with. So I have several containers here. They're all labeled. If they're half and half, then the other label will be on the other side. And then the bags are just lightly placed over top, so it keeps most of the heat in, but it is open on one side to allow any excess heat or humidity to escape. And then I'll just check these daily and make sure that they don't need any water. All right, so this is 4 days after I planted the seeds, and I had maybe 40% of my seeds sprouted within the first 4 days, and then maybe 90% sprouted within 7 days, and then the rest within 10 days. So here you can see I am lightly plucking out the better looking sprouts and then sticking them in seed trays. I don't have a lot of seed trays, so and I'm hoping to just accumulate those kind of things over the years. But for the most part, as you'll see in the next little bit, I use practically anything from cups, old seed trays, old pots, to sour cream containers and yogurt containers. They're quite easy, these little sprouts, to pull out, so I didn't pack down the soil to begin with in these containers. So if you use your finger lightly or even a spoon and you just kind of lift up the soil underneath the sprout, it loosens them up very, very nicely. So this was about 7 days after I had put the seeds into the wet paper towel, and you can see that they are sprouting. So from here, I just kind of took the ones that had little tails on them, so the sprouted seeds, and I threw them in some dirt. All right, so to wrap up this video, I'll just show you, this is 7, 8, 9, 10 days after I seeded everything, and everything has come up perfectly, except for the only casualties were the marigolds, which was supposed to be right here. I actually seeded them last year, nothing happened. I stuck them in the freezer this year, the seeds, because I heard that would help with the germination process, but still nothing. So if you have any tips, please let me know, unless they're just not viable seeds. They were given to me, so who knows how old they are or how old they were. So yeah, I got, looks like all my flowers up here. And I'm waiting for more cups. So I built a greenhouse, which is going to be in the next video I'm going to put up. It's a little too chilly still during the nights. I don't trust the heater to keep up with the minus 10 degree Celsius nights. Minus 15, it cannot stand. Minus 10, it's getting close. So even with a heater in the greenhouse, which you can see right here, it will be like 2 degrees, and it's just a little too close for comfort for me. So I just had to work with this space in here where I know that they're gonna be okay. This year I wanted, so these are the tomatoes and peppers. I wanted to plant them into 6-inch pots. So I actually bought hundreds of these pots here, but I just don't have the space. I wish I could just pot once and not have to worry about transplanting, but that's not the case because I just don't have the abundant amount of room. So I'm hoping by the time they reach the capacity of these cups, which should be in about a month, then it will 100% be warm enough to stick them out there in my lovely new greenhouse that I bought that I can't use, which is frustrating. And yeah, I think as far as that goes, these were those bagged peppers. All my seeds ended up actually sprouting in those bags, so I just stuck them in dirt as soon as I saw sprouts because I knew they were viable. The only reason I did that, like I mentioned before, is because I seed saved them from store-bought vegetables, and I just wasn't sure if they would take or not. And I guess lessons for next year is you don't need so many tomatoes, because for example, I only use this much, and I'm getting more cups like I said, but I won't be able to use all of those. And then for the most part, all of the ones that keep sprouting, I just pop them and take them out and cup them as soon as they pop. And then I leave this baggie on there for any more lingering seeds that are just taking a little bit longer. And yeah, that's everything. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to add it below, and like and subscribe our channel, and have a wonderful day.